You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in Trio software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Trio. This is Season 6, Episode 10. I am your host, Juan Rivas. In today's episode, we have an alum of the Trio Upward Bound program at Eastern New Mexico University, Catalina Arana Mendoza. Catalina is on the podcast to talk about her educational experience, running her own podcast, and what she looks forward to in the future. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Jaded Electronics, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, Cambridge Educational Services, CE Tours, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month goes a long way in supporting this podcast. If you own a business and would like to run an ad on our podcast, send us a message at letstalktrio@gmail.com. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our business handle is @letstalktrio. Any amount is truly appreciated. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Catalina Arana Mendoza, who is the Trio Upward Bound alum at Eastern New Mexico University. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is a graduate of Eastern New Mexico University and an alum of the Trio Upward Bound program. She is the host of the podcast Cafecito Time with Catalina, which wrapped up its first season. My guest has worked for the Multicultural Affairs Office and continues to engage her alma mater in many different ways. When she is not too busy, she enjoys traveling, trying out new foods, spending time with family, and dancing. Welcome to the podcast, Catalina Arana Mendoza. Catalina, welcome to the podcast.
Hola, Juan. Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. I am so excited. Estoy súper emocionada de estar en este episodio.
I am excited to be in this episode with you as well. Very excited to have you on the podcast. When I reached out to you and you agreed to be on here, I was just like elated because this is a while coming. I think I've been meaning to ask,
Yes.
been wanting to have you on the podcast. But for our audience, for full transparency, Catalina was a former student of mine and a participant when I was the director of the Upward Bound program. Catalina, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so kind of like how you mentioned, my name is Catalina Arana Mendoza. I have two last names. A lot of people confuse Arana with my middle name, but it's actually two last names from my mom and my dad, from my dad and my mom.
Mhm.
I grew up in Mexico, and then I came to the United States when I was 12 years old. I
Wow.
didn't know any English whatsoever, so it is possible. Sí se puede.
Muy bien dicho.
I am currently getting my master's in communications at Eastern New Mexico University, and I will be graduating in May. I'm super excited.
That is exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I will be the first one in my family to get a master's degree, so I
That
am
is amazing.
so
I love that.
happy, and this is for me and for my family and all the people that have supported me. For you too, since you've been there through I was a little kid, so I
You've
appreciate
done
the
all the
support.
work at the end. You're the one that powered through. You're the one that did it. So all kudos to you. How are things over there at in Portales?
Well, we had a really cold a really cold couple of days, but
I heard.
it's go we just get the cold and no snow, no nothing like in Colorado. So we just get the cold weather. But it has been amazing. You see, I always hear people saying that, oh, in Portales there's nothing to do, blah blah blah. But I think it's the people that you surround yourself with
Oh,
that
that's a
make
good
it
point.
more interesting.
Mhm.
Because if you like my best friends, whenever I was getting my undergrad, they were here, and we would just be watching a movie,
Mhm.
and then we would have like random dance parties right there, and like pause the movie and then have random. So it's the people that you surround yourself with that will make the environment that you are in either joyful or dreadful.
I think
So
you have a great point there that no matter where you live, right? If it's a small town or a big city, it's the people
yes,
that you surround yourself with that'll either make or break that experience for you.
yes, I totally believe that.
So, with a new year comes new goals and aspirations. What does this new year mean for you? Obviously, right, graduation, but what
Yes.
other things does it mean for you?
um so I this is gonna sound super silly, but I gotta keep it fun, gotta keep it spunky. I don't know how to swim, so one of my goals for this year is to learn how to swim
That's
because
awesome.
I saw a meme that on Facebook or Instagram, I don't remember, that it's like, how is Earth 80% water and you don't know how to swim? So I was like, I guess you have a good point there. So I guess it's kind of like going up those past traumas that we gotta move forward, we have to
Certainly.
learn how to swim. So that's one of my
Certainly.
goals, and it just learning, kind of attaching to like keep on bettering myself and healing, and just being a better person, learning more about myself. I'm a big advocate for learning about yourself and bettering yourself, because there's always room for improvement.
I love that. That's going to be a clip when we tease out your episode.
Ooh.
What is something that you learned about yourself in 2023?
Honestly, Juan, I not just 2023. Well, I guess it was like at the end of 2023. Um, and just through my college journey, and like since I moved to the United States, that like you have silent cheerleaders everywhere. Like you might not talk to them, well, not silent, but like you might not talk to them every day, you might not see them every day, but when you tell them about it, they're as excited as you are, and just
Mhm.
share that same joy that you are pushing yourself. So there's always people like in Mexico, that I talked to this older lady, and she was like, "Mija, I hope you know that I'm always praying for you. Espero y sepas que siempre estoy orando
Mhm.
por ti." And to me, that's I am very religious, and that, like, to me, that was very heartwarming, because you always have these people that just are always wishing you well, and I try to surround myself with a lot of people that are just positive vibes, because I do, like I said, I do believe that the people you surround yourself may either make it or break your environment, and I want to be in a happy environment, so
I love
I
that.
do try to, yeah.
And you are positively a ray of sunshine everywhere you go. You have a very
Thank
bright
you.
smile and you bring a lot of positive energy. So
Thank
this
you,
next
thank
question
you.
is like, how does that translate to social media for you? Like for folks in your generation, social media
Mm-hmm.
is a very important thing because it speaks presence. It says that you're there. What does it mean to you personally to have a social media presence?
Okay, so they always say that each account is like according to your audience.
Oh, certainly,
Like
yeah.
for example, Facebook's more like family friendly and just
I've
meme
heard of
related.
this. Yes.
And then Instagram's a little bit more like, oh, and then Snapchat's like a little bit more crazy. But throughout the years, I feel, and like maturing, you do grow out of those stages. So you just kind of share the same content everywhere. Like, for example, if you look through my social medias, like I do take a lot of pictures, but it's for my own personals. Like
Yeah.
I want to look at those pictures like sunsets. I'm always taking pictures of sunsets.
They're very awesome pictures, by the way.
Thank you. And then just it kind of depends. Like I recently took this semester, I decided to take a break from Snapchat. Like I still
Yeah.
have my account, but I deleted the app because I was like, you know what? Like I need to prioritize other things.
Hmm.
And um like Instagram, I still post here and there, but I'm not really like, and Facebook, I still post. I just kind of like scroll through it to like keep up with what's going on,
Yeah.
but not necessarily post my personal life. I do believe like I am very personal on my social media, and maybe I do have some followers on TikTok, so it just maybe I should open up. And it's always that question, like maybe I should open up and tell them what I'm going through and all this stuff. But then sometimes I'm like, no, maybe I don't. And then whenever I open whenever I created the pages for Cafecito Time con Cata,
Hmm.
I like sent the invites like to click, and I posted on my Snapchat and Instagram, and so many people were liking the pages, and it just made my heart so happy, and it felt so warming because of all the support, todo el apoyo que la gente me dio. So it was very, very heartwarming to know that even though I might not post as constant as other people do,
Hmm.
um like I still have that support, that my friends are still wanting to take that extra step of liking that page or going from Snapchat to Instagram or all of that. So it was very, very heartwarming. But yeah, I definitely say just I don't know, like it's just up to you. Like I think it's all a personal um question that you should ask yourself if you either want to like portray your personal life, and if you do, that's like totally good, like okay. But if you don't, it's also totally okay, because the people that are close to you will keep in contact with you even if you're not on social media. And I can tell you that from experience. I actually had we had a group chat on Snapchat of these friends of mine, and one of them, she sent me a WhatsApp, and she's like, oh, Gata Monte told me that you're not on Snapchat right now. And I was like, yeah, I have to prioritize my school and my work. So she reached out on another platform, so it's still keeping in contact, just not in that easier communication that
Right.
we might have had in the group chat, but we still keep in contact. So it just makes it just kind of shows you who is really your friend in a way, and who
Mm.
will be willing to take that extra step.
I love that. I love that. So you live in Portales, New Mexico. You say there's plenty to do in Portales. What makes New Mexico special for you?
Okay, so little background story. Whenever I moved here and I first started college, people would always ask me, oh, what do you think is better, Mexico or here? And I was like, Mexico was great because I had all my childhood there. I had my niñez was amazing. I would play with mud cakes, which I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to do here. I would go through puddles with my bike. Like I had an awesome, awesome, awesome childhood.
Hmm.
And I'm very thankful for my parents for all that they gave me. And then Portales gave me a lot of opportunities that maybe if I would have stayed in Mexico, I wouldn't have. Like I wouldn't be getting my master's. So I am very thankful for both. So I'm very thankful for Portales, and it is very special to me because of the opportunities it has given me.
Hmm.
And
Wonderful.
in a person, my career, my family, everything.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So we were talking about the New Year's earlier. For 2024, I think a lot of people like to set themselves up for goals like traveling or exercising more. For you, what is a goal that you have for 2024?
Um, okay, so before the year ended, 2023 ended, I sat down and I wrote what I wanted to be for my years. So I definitely, like I mentioned before, I definitely want to work on myself. I want to learn how to swim, graduate, of course, and then I do want to read more books that are not like, because I recently I let me tell you, I used to be like, oh no, 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 like reading, I no, 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 que flojera. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, tell me the books that you're reading. And
Ah, muy bien.
I, like I said, it's just part of that maturity, that process that you go through, I guess. So I want to read more books, and actually I just recently I don't know, to me this was new. Okay, so I'm sorry if you already knew this, but I didn't know this. On Spotify you can actually download the audiobooks, and I travel a lot. Like when I go to Mexico, it's a 11 hour drive.
Oh yeah,
So
it's long.
so I can actually listen like to an audiobook while I'm driving, which I think is awesome because it's multitasking, but not like in a reckless way, like I
Right,
am
right.
listening to. So I am so excited, and I actually had in my car I had like $200 worth of on my Amazon cart I had like $200 worth of books, but I found most of the books, so I'm like, oh, we're saving money
That's very good.
too.
So more reading, sounds like learning how to swim, and definitely
Yes,
graduation at the very top of the list, which I absolutely
yes.
love. So Catalina, let's go back in time a little bit. Can you talk about your childhood and what was it like growing up?
Okay, so like I said, I grew up in Mexico. It was To me, it was an awesome childhood. Like we had bikes out. So when it rained, because in the summer it rains a lot in Mexico, where I'm from. I'm from Cuauhtémoc, Chihuahua. So el estado grande aquí estamos representando. Um, so through it would rain, and then there were puddles being created with the rain. So we would go through our bikes really, really as fast as we could, and we would get all full of dirt and everything. It was just that like really rancho growing, like you don't care if you
Hmm.
get dirty, like it's just part of another day. And we had animals too, so we would take care of them. So it kind of, that responsibility was embedded into my brother and I,
Hmm.
and my
Hmm.
sister, and from a very young age, because we had to take care of other living things that were not just us.
Right,
So
right.
it was awesome. An awesome, awesome childhood.
How would you describe your family?
My family, I would describe it as very hardworking, and I think humble, definitely, and very, very supportive, because I wouldn't be able to. My parents have always, my dad has always said, "Mija, si tú puedes, dale.
Hmm.
Nosotros te vamos a apoyar, like we will support you, just go for it, like whatever you want in life, go for it." Like and there's a saying that they always embedded in us, that says when we would go to church every Sunday,
Hmm.
and one time the sermon talked about how there was this very poor family, and then that that God told them, throw your cow to the cliff. And
Hmm.
they were like, what do you mean? Like, that's the only way of income that we have. And then God was like, just throw the cow to the cliff. And then they were like very hesitant about it. They were like, do we throw the cow? Do we not throw the cow? And it's like, so they threw the cow, and then
Hmm.
they ended up getting like 100 cows more. Like all sorts of blessings came on them when you trust God. So I am like I said, I am religious, so I am a firm believer that God has a plan for all of us, and we all go through our journey through life, and we make the choices that we should have more faith in ourselves and just trust the process.
I love that.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. Is education something you gravitated toward? Like, was it something that interested you as when you started?
Um, as in like education, like school overall, or in
Yeah, like
education?
learning and all of that.
Yes. So I actually have been, um, I enjoy school, and my brother and my sister and my brother-in-law always tell me like, ¿Cuándo vas a terminar la escuela? When are you gonna finish school? Because you're always in school. And I'm like, oh well, we'll see. But school has always been embedded in me. My parents have always had a high expectation of me in school. I feel like they've always held a very high standard for me to be like good in school and everything. So that was always embedded since a very young age. I remember my I got like in first grade, I think I got like I got an F on an exam. Let me not let me it might have not been my brightest moment at the time, but it was El Día de San Juan. So in Mexico, like it's the day that you get wet, like water balloons, or like the rancho, you just squirt the water. So it's just a fun times. And I was like, Mom, here's the exam, and I put it on the kitchen. And then I was like, I'm leaving. And then she came, and she's like, where are you going? And I was like,
Uh-oh.
to go play. And then she's like, no, you're not. You're grounded. You're not going anywhere because of this F. And I was like,
Oh.
so ever since then, I'm like, I think I don't want to get an F. So I've always tried to be the best I can. During my bachelor's, maybe there were some hard times. I'm not gonna tell you that life is all peaches and cream, because it's not. There's some sour patches there thrown at you.
Certainly.
But it does get better. And right now I am so thankful. Right now, so far, I have a 4.0, so I don't want to jinx it. Hopefully I will get a straight A's this semester too, and graduate with my master's with a 4.0. So I am super, super excited. But yeah, education has always kind of been embedded in me and my siblings.
So it is fair to say then your parents placed a lot of importance in education. Like they saw you going to college.
Yes, definitely. Like college, like not going to college was not really an option. It was just kind of like that's the option.
How would your family describe you?
Enojona. No,
I mean, that's total opposite of what you display, though. You're bubbly and very positive and sunshine.
Pues sí, but then sometimes I'm like, dude, like my brother. If you ask my brother, he's gonna be like, oh, no, enojona. But I think I would say I'm a good girl. Like I am very studious. I think they're very proud of how far I've made it. And like I said, I wouldn't be anywhere without them. Yo no pudiera estar tan lejos en la vida sin ellos. La verdad, they are my rock. They are always my support. So people always make fun of me that I travel a lot to Mexico, but it's because my parents go to Mexico a lot. So any inconvenience, any major inconvenience, I'm like, okay, the weekend comes, I go with mommy and daddy.
Do you remember what you wanted to be or what you aspired to be when you were little?
I wanted to be a teacher, Juan, and
No
I've
way.
actually, yeah, and I've actually, so my bachelor's is in Spanish with a double minor in bilingual education and English as a second language. So I was getting a double major and a double minor, but my other major was education, and if I would have stuck to it, I would have taken a longer time, and I would just kind of burnt out at the time. So I was like, I just need to graduate and get this done and then keep on going, because if not, it's gonna take me too long. But yeah, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I have a lot of patience. I've noticed I have a lot of patience with little kids. Like I have four nieces and three nieces and one nephew, and I feel like I have a lot of patience. And I am a big advocate for the five love languages. This might go a little bit off topic, but
Oh no, go for it.
this past weekend I listened to the audiobook of the five love languages of children, which I didn't know that book existed. So I was super excited to listen to it, and it just kind of like made me realize like, oh, okay, like, and you see like how everything you do does affect kids and their future and stuff. So I always try to I always try to learn as much as possible by myself, so that way I can be more patient with them and more understanding. So
Wonderful. What was elementary and middle school like for you? Sorry, as I catch you in the middle of a drink.
It's okay. So elementary. So in the ranch that I grew up, there was like 16 kids from first grade to sixth grade. So we are talking like one in first grade, three in second, one in third, like totaling 16 kids.
Wow.
So sometimes first grade, second grade, and third grade had the same homework. Fourth, fifth, and sixth had the same homework. So I did not have the strongest foundation of education, as maybe other people might have, but it's not an excuse for you not to learn, and you can always better yourself. So I am a prime example of that. So just sí se puede.
Wonderful. Yes. I love that.
And then let me touch into middle school. So middle school, it was that sixth grade, and then I moved to the US 2 months before sixth grade ended. And for those 2 months, Juan, I always tell everyone, and it's the reference because we have a lot of cows here and dairies around the area of Portales. I always say I felt like cattle. Like I was just going with the flow. I didn't know what was going on, and I can admit it. I am not a follower. Like I am a follower under good leadership, but if I don't, like, I like to know where I'm going, what's happening. Like I want to know what is going on. Yeah. I am not just go with the flow. I'm not like I want to have specific, like I was asking what time, blah blah blah, all these questions that I was asking you. So I want to know what is happening. And for those 2 months I just felt like I was going with the flow, and it was really hard for me, especially as a new kid in middle school. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then in junior high, I do believe I started to develop that like leadership because I was more acquainted with the school system, with the teachers, with my classmates. So I was putting myself a little bit out there more. But yeah.
Okay. Were there any activities or interests that you developed while you were in middle school or junior high?
No. So at the time when we first moved here, we had a lot of we had like cows and chickens and stuff here in Portales. So we would have that responsibility of taking care of them. In junior high, I did play sports. And my brother did too. So it was kind of like that balance between like livestock and then like family and school and sports. So like I've said, I've always been very like my dad especially has always emphasized the importance of, yeah, school is very important, but you also need to know life things. Like you need to know how to change a tire. I know how to change a tire. So I've taught my friends how to check the pressure on the tires and stuff like that. So yeah, I do know some life skills. And my brother like still shows me new things and stuff like that. So it's very, very important.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that transition between middle school or junior high and high school. How did you prepare for high school, and how did your family prepare you for high school?
Okay, so at the end of 8th grade year, my teacher, Coach Teges, had a meeting with my parents, and I remember it vividly because of how important it was. Like it was a big point in my life. My parents, in Mexican culture, education is very, very important, and like what the teachers say is what goes. In Mexico, that's how it goes too. So my parents had a meeting with him, and it was about, because I was in dual language classes. I was in bilingual ed with Coach T in junior high. And then the question was like, do you want to continue for your kid to be in bilingual education classes, or do you want to put them in just English? Keep in mind, I had only been here for 2 years. So I had that conversational English. And then my dad asked, the teacher was like, okay, well, let me ask you, what do you think is best for my child, for me? So then Coach Tellez was like, honestly, I think she would be okay in English. Like it would push her harder. And it will be hard, but she can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to believe in me, and then my dad was like, okay, then let's put her in regular English. Oh my gosh, Juan, let me tell you, I had like a D. I remember the first quarter, and I was like, oh my gosh, a D, how can I do this? Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I I I think I finished the class with a B. I'm not sure. Like at the end of the year or a C, but I was happy because it was my first. I think it was a B. Yeah, I think it was a B. And it was we were reading Shakespeare. Una niña del rancho acaba de llegar a Estados Unidos hace 2 años y leer Shakespeare. I was like, excuse me, no sé
Yeah.
inglés, oiga. So I was like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it was a lot of communication that I had to do, and kind of like extra steps other kids might not maybe didn't have to do, but I had to do it
Mm-hmm.
for me to succeed. If not, I was
Mm-hmm.
gonna fail, and that was not an option.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to my teacher, and I was like, okay, so what can I do? And my like very very broken English, I was like, how can I help? And then she's like, how can I like help myself, like to be better, to understand? She's like, well, there's a online a book that has like the old English and then the regular English. And I was like, okay. So I told my parents, and as soon as we got out of school, I told my parents. And my dad, as soon as I told him, gave me his phone, he's like, order it. So then I ordered it, and then it helped me a lot, and I had to like read both one so that way I could understand and take the quizzes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But my teacher was amazing, and I would go early in the morning so that way I like prepare for whatever I needed to prepare. So it was a lot of extra steps that I had to take, but didn't stop me from wanting to be better. And I actually, in high school, I actually graduated with honors, and I ended up taking honors English and college credit classes. So it was
That's
good
amazing.
years, good time.
Amazing. See, you were already like working 3 times as hard as any other student for being arriving in the United States and then having to take a lot of what would be standard US curriculum classes in middle school and high school. And you were already like working overtime to catch up. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. Nosotros Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, developments of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. Nosotros Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotrosedu.org.
And now, back to the podcast.
Did any of your interests for middle school, like sports, carry over into high school?
So I did continue playing softball in high school, But then junior year is whenever you could start taking college classes.
Mhm.
So then I was like, it was one of those moments that I had to, one of those moments in my life, and I always talk about this. It was one of those moments in my life that I was like, okay, so do I want to continue with sports, which I'm not the greatest at, or do I want to continue with school, which I am better at? So like, okay, let's go this way. So I started taking college credit classes.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did you find out about the Trio Upward Bound program?
I believe it was Coach Bachicha. He was my science teacher. He was the one that recommended me. He's like, so there's this program for first generation low income students, and I was like, oh, really? And then he was telling me about it, and I'm like, okay. So as soon as I got out of class, I went to Mr. Tafoya, and I was like, can you give me more information? And then like that's how we got into the program.
Wow. So I'm going to ask a redundant question, but I want you to expand on this. So you were really interested in going into college?
Yes, like not going to college wasn't an option for me. It was like, you're going to college. So I knew I was going to college. But I just didn't. Yeah. I knew college was the big goal, but the little steps that you have to take to reach that goal, I didn't know. I was just kind of like, okay.
So who did you speak to regarding these college goals? Because you have counselors, teachers. And I'm sure your parents knew that was your goal and that was your desire.
Mr. Tafoya was a really, really big help with my college classes. He's like, oh, you can take this one, Mija, or you can take this other one. And it would just, he was a big, so my counselor would be the biggest influence in the college classes. And Trio actually helped me a lot because during the summer and the trips that we would take, like I knew college was a thing, like college was for me. So it was Trio, counselor. It was just a combination of all the people that like I surrounded myself. So yeah.
Wonderful. So how did Trio Upward Bound help you prepare for college?
Oh, Juan, it helped me immensely. I did not know how to do the FAFSA. You helped me with my FAFSA. Yeah, I remember I was like, ¿qué es eso? So you helped a lot, and just the college classes, the job that I got, I will never forget. And we always talk to our students. So fun fact, I work multicultural affairs at Eastern New Mexico University.
I remember.
And whenever I graduated from high school, so in the summer program, you could kind of like intern but get paid for one of the departments on campus. And whenever I hadn't graduated, this other girl, her name is Maria, she was like, I think you would be really good at working at the department. So I was like, I really like this job. It seems so fun. So then whenever I graduated, she's like, just come and interview. I was like, okay. So then I went, and I remember you and Daniela sat with me through that interview, and it was like the whole office, and I had to dress up, and they asked me questions. And so I was like a little nervous. But then I got the job as a work study, and then I got my a bachelor's, and I still kept working there, and then now I am a staff member and I still work there. So
that's amazing. What is your favorite memory of Trio Upward Bound? What did you like most about it?
I really like the help for school. Like that was such it's such a stress reliever, because as a first generation, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know where to go. And it's not like my parents are very supportive and they're very thankful, but sometimes they don't understand the struggles that I might have to go through, or they don't comprehend the big stress that I put myself or whatever, like filling out this form or filling out, because Diana and I, my supervisor and I, always talk about, because if you make it seem easy, it does not necessarily mean it is easy. So it just, it was very, very helpful to know that you had people there that have gone through those same struggles that or challenges that you might have gone through, and that they're willing to help you and they know the way how to do it. So that was one of like that is the key point of, and I always push it, like whenever I know there's first generation low income students, I always tell them like join Upward Bound. It is an amazing program because it does help you a lot. And you know, I grew up to be thankful for the people that have been there since the beginning, which Upward Bound has been since with me since the very beginning. So that would be another one. The fun one was all the trips that we would take.
Of course, yes.
Who doesn't like trips, right?
Yeah.
And then to learn about the other schools and everything, like getting to know that, I think that culture acclimation, just kind of like getting to know other universities, other colleges, that there's other options, just not your local college or whatever, and how the cultures there at the cities, at the colleges are different from other universities, colleges, towns, whatever. So that was very important. And then my favorite was when we stayed at the dorms, Juan. All that bonding
Oh
that we did
yeah,
was
that's right. The
amazing.
dorms.
Yes. I'm that old.
I think that's when the Trio Program program was still a residential program, and it allowed you
Mhm.
to stay in the dorm. So yeah, those
Yeah.
that's amazing. That is amazing. How did you apply what you learned in Trio Upward Bound to your high school experience?
Well, like I said, I just kind of took college classes, so took those the summers with Upward Bound. So it just so anyone can listen.
Hmm.
But if you actually listen and like comprehend what is being told to you, you will do what is best for you. So we have to we have two ears to listen more than we speak. So we
Hmm.
have to listen more and absorb all. I always think of myself as a sponge, like just absorb as much as possible as you can and just apply it to your life to better yourself. So if I was told, oh, you should take this class, it would blah blah blah, like it would help you in this way, blah blah blah, I would be like, okay, like let's take it. So it just actually listen, because they're like, you know, you always hear young people like always complaining about not wanting to do this or that, but I'm always like, the older people have wiser perspectives of life because they've gone through it, they've experienced it, they've seen it. So when they tell you something, it is for a reason. And I am a firm believer of that, because I try, like I said, I try to absorb as much as possible.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Wonderful. So earlier in our interview, you were talking about exploring colleges through Trio Upward Bound and being aware of other colleges. For a lot of high school students at this point of their career, they are, or in the senior year, they're thinking about colleges. They're thinking about what colleges they want to go to. Did you have a list of colleges you wanted to attend? And was there a dream college for you?
So for me here in Portales, I was like, okay, I have either Texas Tech,
Hmm.
UNM, NMSU, or ENMU. I was like, okay, Texas Tech is right there.
Hmm.
UNM, my parents were like, oh, vas a estar bien lejos. And like I said, I have that really strong bond with my parents. So
Hmm.
they were like, oh, vas a estar muy lejos, blah, blah, blah. So I was kind of iffy about that. And then NMSU too, because of how far it was. And then Texas Tech was like, it was right there. My parents could visit me. But then it's like way more money. So I was like, ENMU, I would get, like with my scholarships and everything, like I would have it covered. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't have to worry about taking out loans and any of that stuff. So I was very grateful and thankful that I graduated my bachelor's debt free.
Amazing.
So I chose ENMU, and it was all covered by my scholarships and everything. So I'm very grateful for that.
So talk about your senior year. in high school. What do you remember most about it?
Um, so my senior year was a little bit more not as traditional as like other high school students because majority of my classes were just college classes. I think I was taking three college classes. Yeah, three college classes and then like one at the high school because I think we had to have a minimum of four. So I was
Mhm.
spending more time at the university already than at the high school.
Wow,
But I did a maple, which is like a tradition for Portales that like you dress in these really beautiful dresses and it's like a dance and it's like very old tradition. And I will never regret that because that was awesome, like just getting to spend time with the other classmates and everything.
that's wonderful. What do you remember feeling when you graduated from high school, and what did that mean for you and your family?
So, I said the prayer in Spanish, so I got to go up there on the stage and just kind of say the prayer. And my last name is Arana, so I was at the very front of my class. So
Mhm.
I actually took a selfie that I was like, "Hey, smile!" So to me, I was honestly like, I look back and it was very surreal. Like it did not seem like a graduation. I was just kind of like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, it was kind of, and it was a proud moment for my parents. Um, and my sister made these banners, and it was just, it was awesome. Like it was a really good, fun time, and I had family coming from out of town, so it was awesome.
Amazing. You ultimately decided to attend Eastern New Mexico University for a variety of reasons. It sounds like scholarships were being offered. It just would have you graduate debt free. But was there another reason, academic or otherwise, that you decided that Eastern was the best choice for you?
um, um, Well, it had the education program, and since I was going for education, and it's known for the education program, I wanted to stay here for that, and just being close to my family, just yeah, and a lot of so fun fact, I my freshman year and sophomore year, I believe, I became friends with girls there at the that lived in the dorms,
Mhm.
so I would basically live on campus, and then I just kind of come home and sleep and then
Yeah.
wake up and get ready and then go. So I
There
was
you go.
mainly on campus all the time. So it was like staying away from home, but at home at the same time.
I gotcha. Um, what did you do to prepare your transition between high school and college? What were the things that you started getting ready to really be into college?
um, so like I said, I took a lot of high school classes in high school. I mean, a lot of college classes in high school. So I already knew like the course load was heavier. Upper Bound helped me a lot, like preparing, like I said, like with financial aid, with all of that. Like it was that smooth transition, especially because of the opportunity that I had working with multicultural affairs and that you guys were there like every step of the way. And I knew I could just email you or go to your office and just like, hey, I need help with this, can you help me or whatever, and even if you didn't know the answer, you might have like looked somewhere else to ask for the answer to find out the answer for me. So yeah,
Wonderful. Talk about your college experience at ENMU. What was it like?
it was okay for so I'm still there. But undergrad, I'm focusing more on undergrad right now. So undergrad was awesome. I was very, very involved on campus. I won homecoming queen.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah. So a girl that came from Mexico won homecoming queen. So and when they did the homecoming introductions at the homecoming game in the middle of the game at halftime,
mhm.
so I wanted them to include both my last names and where I was from. That is Chihuahua, because that is people ask me, where are you from? I would say I'm from Chihuahua because that's where my childhood was. That's where I grew up as a person, and I had those that foundation of who I am today, you know, like that hardworking, having responsibility. So that's why I always say I'm from Chihuahua. And they introduced me as Catalina Arana Mendoza, from Chihuahua, Mexico. So I was very thankful. Yeah, it was awesome. Like, but I do say, I always tell my students that work in the department, like, don't get too involved, because like I said, not everything in life is sweet and candies. There are some sour patches there. Because I did stretch myself. I always say that if you stretch yourself so much, you break.
Mm-hmm.
So and you do, of course, I had my lows, but I got the help that I needed and did whatever I needed to do to get better. So I did, and I graduated 2020 Corona class. Yay me. So I didn't have a graduation
I'm
for
sorry.
bachelor's. So in May, I'm hoping that it's something very special.
Yes, absolutely. A double graduation, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Did you
Tirar la casa por la ventana.
So it sounds like you got pretty involved, and it sounds like maybe there was a year in there where you stretched yourself out too thin. So talk about those college activities and being involved, and what does that mean, and how do you seek a balance between all that?
Agendas. I have always kept an agenda. I
And I'll tell you. So I preach that to my students, like having a schedule, having something, and then they'll roll their eyes, or they're like, "Oh my gosh, this talk again." But agendas are important, right?
Very, very. And we emphasize that on our department too. We always tell them, get an agenda, Outlook calendar, this and that. Like, I have my agenda. I don't have it with me. I have it in my backpack. But everyone around me knows that I carry I have to have an agenda. And I actually, for New Year's, I was in Fort Worth. For Christmas, I was in Fort Worth, and then my brother went over there, and then he's like, our friends told me to tell you to put it in your agenda for New Year's to be in Clovis. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, everyone knows I have to keep it in my agenda, because yes, I have to stay organized. If not, it will be chaotic. But I was involved in, like I said, in a lot of organizations. So I was involved in a lot of the organizations and societies, like honor societies with the education department. And then multicultural keeps you very busy, very, very busy, because we deal with so many events and stuff. So that kept me very busy. And then I would try to go to the football games and just kind of have that like a very active social life. But now that I'm like older, I do, like, sometimes I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't. Like, I need to take care of myself first, and just kind of have like a weekend to myself, where I'm like actually, I was talking to my friend earlier this morning, and she's like, how's school going? I know you've been very busy, and I don't want to invite you to anything because I don't know like how you have classes. I was like, oh, well, actually, I wanted to see like what you were doing today. So we made plans and everything. So it just kind of, yeah, it's like I said, the importance of having good people around you is super, super, super crucial, because they will understand you. They will help you. Like, just sometimes, like, my friends and I just kind of get together to do homework. So yeah, the importance of having those same understanding, and yeah.
That's awesome. I think it's important for first generation students to connect as much as they can to on campus, or to campus, really, because in my experience, as you know, I've worked for various colleges. Right now, I currently work for CSU, but I see the importance of like connecting with your campus. Through those connections, did you get to meet a lot of people, and how important is it to connect to campus to you?
Definitely. Like I said, I was homecoming queen, so, and it is a popularity contest. I'm not like, this is not my humblest moment, okay? But
Little bragging
I
rights,
did.
bragging rights.
It's okay. Sometimes you have to advocate for yourself, Juan, and that's something that I've learned, because I come from a very humble family, that you always have to like stay humble, but sometimes you have to let people know like that you like what you bring to the table, because if not, like, you will get put down if you don't advocate for yourself. So
Absolutely.
it's not really bragging, it's more like advocating for yourself. I like to
I
think
love
of it
that.
that way.
I've reworded it since too. I've seen it as giving yourself credit, because I think we often don't do that.
Yes.
Is you give yourself credit and say, yep, this is something I did.
Yes. And it's very important because you do have to be your biggest cheerleader. If you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else do?
Right.
So, but I did get to meet a lot of people. Like I said, I was very involved. My job kept me very involved. So I had a really, like, I knew a lot of professors. I knew a lot of higher ups, like I knew the president of the university, vice president, stuff like that, because of the job that I had. And then I did know a lot of students because of the involvement, like on extracurricular activities and stuff.
That's awesome. Who served as your mentors and role models while in college?
I always say que Diosito nos pone angelitos en esta vida. So my mentors have been you, because you always push, like, you get your education. Like any teacher that has believed in me. So Coach Teyes, Coach Bachichat, Mr. Tafoya, Diana Cordova has been a huge mentor. Jeannie Flores has always been a very big mentor.
Teeny,
And
I
then
remember
another,
Flores. Yeah.
yeah, she's retiring this year.
No way! Already?
Yeah.
Oh, no
I'm
way!
like, you get to say my name, Jeannie. That's good. And then Dr. Contreras, he was a huge mentor, Juan, too, because whenever I was getting my dual enrollment classes, I was still a high school kid. He's like, yo te veo que sacas los dos majors. Y yo, ¿qué es eso? Pues I didn't know. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, you get two majors, like it's Spanish and education, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, he has always been. And I actually saw him over the summer, and it's just so heartwarming seeing him. So yeah, he's a really big mentor too. But my current, like, biggest mentor right now is Diana Cordova. She has been there. She has seen my good, my bad, and my ugly. So
And she Diana Cordova has done a lot for multicultural affairs, so that is
yes.
amazing. Also wanted to give a quick shout out to Daniela Garcia, because I know she
Yes,
also played a pivotal role in a lot of the things you've
definitely.
been doing at Eastern.
Yes, and she was actually going to come this semester. No, last semester. I forget that we're in 2024. She was gonna come, and I was so excited to see her. So yes, she was a very big a mentor too.
So did you have a program? So when you entered Eastern, did you have immediately a knowledge of, like, this is what I'm going to major in, this is the program I want to be in? Like, did you have your mind already made up?
Juan, I had my whole life planned out.
Already with your agenda and
Yes.
everything, huh?
Yes, when I tell you, but then life's like, jokes on you.
Life sometimes takes its turn.
Yes, definitely. And that was one hard pill to swallow, because I have always been very like strict with myself. Like, I knew what I wanted to do. So whenever I graduated high school, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to school, get my bachelor's, and then start teaching. And then I'm gonna be married by 25 and have kids and blah blah blah. And the last two years, I think, of my undergrad, when I tell you Diana has seen my ugliest, because one day I literally, like, my body could not. I was sitting in front of a screen, and I will never forget this day, because, like I said, it's those big milestones that you go through. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not the greatest. And it is okay, because life is not perfect. Like, you have to embrace those low moments, because it is who you are as a person, and it is included in you. So I was sitting in front of a computer, and I would just kind of like, nothing. I couldn't type anything. I was reading the stuff, but it was just not clicking in my head. And I was going through a lot, like family wise and like personal stuff. So it was just not the best moments. And then I was like, I think you should go to counseling. And I did. And it's like a taboo in Mexican culture, like, oh, vas a terapia, like, está loca, okay?
Right.
But I am such a big advocate for therapy. Like, I think it does help, and it makes you realize, like, as a human being, we have to better ourselves. And just once you hit rock bottom, the only way you can go is up. You cannot go lower. So there's only going up. It's okay if it takes you, I always say that we live in a society where we're so scared to, like, for example, love. We're so scared to love again because, I've been hurt before. So
yeah.
when you were learning to walk, you fell. Not one time, a couple. You still got up and you learned eventually to run. So why would you be scared to fall in love again when you don't know the outcome? What if you learn to run this time? So it's just embracing those low moments, because everyone talks about the high moments, but embrace those low moments because it is who you are as a person, and they are beautiful. Like, they might not be the perfect with the bow or whatever, but it is who you are. So yeah.
I love that. That's great. Some great piece of advice.
Thank you.
At the very beginning of the podcast, you said that initially you were thinking about being a teacher, and that's the field that you wanted to be in. At what point in your college journey did you say that's still for me, or maybe that you wanted to take a different direction?
I was very burnt out. Very, very burnt out. I had to balance, like I said, it's always that balancing that I say, when you stretch yourself so much, you run thin and you break. You will break. Because I am prime example. I was working my hours. I was in extracurriculars. I was in the education program. So I had to tutor for my classes. I had to tutor for another class. So it was a lot of observation, tutoring, this and that. And it was just like, I just did not, like, I was just kind of burnt out. So, but now I've actually, like, recently I'm like, like, I could be a teacher. Like, that's something that I'm like recently, very like recently. I'm right now, school is my focus, but I have thought about, like, what if I do go into teaching? I think I would be a good teacher.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would think so too. Talk about the moment you graduated from ENMU. What was that moment like for you and for your family?
Being realistic, Juan.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I graduated 2020.
The Corona times.
Yes. So it was everything goes virtual. No one knew what was going on. So 5 years of my life, I wake up one day and then they're like, okay, graduation's today. Let's watch in the TV. So I wake up, estoy toda greñuda. I go sit in the living room, and then I see my name, Catalina Arana Mendoza, cum laude, and that was like 5 years of my life.
That's just a thumbs up.
Yeah, and then like a minute later, my picture pops up because you were able to send a picture, so I did.
Oh yeah.
So like 2 minutes later, my picture pops up. I was like. So honestly, my undergrad, it wasn't the happiest moment. We have like a little hallway at my house that I just say that was the stage that I walked on. So my undergrad, like my graduation wasn't the best. So I'm hoping May is amazing, and I just have a feeling it is going to be great.
That's awesome. Did you immediately begin pursuing a master's in communication, and what do you hope to do with this degree?
Okay, so I'm telling you, life is low, up, high, low, sometimes medium. So I immediately started my my graduate program. I got into the communication program, and I was organized and everything. October came, 1st of October. We got some very bad news, and an uncle of mine had passed away in Mexico.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, thank you. So we were like, okay, we gotta go. So we had 2 hours to get ready and then go to Mexico. And I had
Mhm.
just gone out of the shower. So I was like still kind of like in shock, like what is happening?
Mhm.
I forgot my backpack, I forgot my books, I forgot my computer, I forgot everything. So then it was one of those moments that I had to sit with myself and be like, okay, what do I want to do? So I told my parents, we buried my uncle and everything, and I told my parents, you know what, like I don't think school's for me right now. Like I think I need to be here for you guys.
Mhm.
And like I said, I am very family oriented. Anyone that knows me knows I am very family oriented. Um, so like how they have been there for me, I felt like I needed to be there for them. So
Certainly.
I withdrew from all of my classes. You know, they always say withdrawing is really bad, but I went back. I like emailed the vice president of academic affairs, and I told him like I will no longer be in school. I have some family things going on, and I need to take care of that right now. So I did that, and then I was just working for a while, and then I actually got a job. I worked there for like 3 months. Going, I was a graduate student full time, and then I was working at multicultural affairs as a graduate assistant, and then I was working at a pharmacy. So it was a lot,
Yeah,
a
a
lot.
lot on your plate. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's whenever I was like, I cannot. So I was just working at the pharmacy for a while, and then I started working at a job in Clovis, and I was miserable. Like it was a miserable job because of the environment. I did not like it at all. And honestly, like I am not about like money, like, oh, this money, blah blah blah. Like I don't care. As long as I'm happy, I
Yeah.
think because you spend a lot of your days at work. So if you don't enjoy it, like you dread that. Like, and why would you want to live? Because today could be my last day. Why would I want to live that day being dreadful and just angry and like I don't want that for myself. So I quit that job.
Mhm.
I have never quit a job, but I actually
That was a
quit that job.
first.
I was like, yeah,
Wow.
it was my first, definitely. And I went one day, I opened, and then I told the manager, I was like, here are your keys. I don't want to work here no more.
So
So
no
I'm
2 weeks
leaving.
notice, you just said, this is I'm done. Wow.
Cold turkey. Yeah. And I had
Wow.
never in my life done that. So
Yeah.
I was like, here's this. And then I told my parents, and my parents, like I mentioned, they have always been very supportive. So I told them, and my dad's like, oh, vente para acá, para Mexico. So I was like, okay. So then I left to Mexico, and I was living over there for a couple of months. I
Mhm.
think it was like 3 months or so that I lived in Mexico. And then my supervisor, well, they told me, my friend Annabelle told me, she's like, hey, the position open for administrative assistant for the department. And she's like, so that way you can apply if you're still interested. I was like, heck yeah, I'm still interested. So I applied over there in Mexico. And then I had my interview on Thursday. So I was like, okay, I need to leave. So I came Tuesday. No, I came Monday. And then Tuesday just like got myself ready and everything. Wednesday came along, and I was like, okay, get my jitters out. And then Thursday came, went to my interview, and then I got the news and everything. So I've been there ever
Wow.
since then. And you always hear, so key point of this, I do want to emphasize, like, it is okay to withdraw from classes if you want to go back to school. It is okay to fail a class as long as you apply yourself and do the work. Like I said, I have had my lows, I have had my highs. So it just a part of learning yourself. Diana and I always talk about, she says that if she would have stopped from after her bachelor's, she wouldn't have gone. She couldn't go like do it going back to getting her master's. And I'm the other way. I'm like, Diana, like I know when I'm burnt out and I need a break, and then I will give you my all again. But it was whenever I needed that, like I needed to be realistic with myself and realize that I needed that break.
Absolutely. So you're in the Masters of Communication program, and I think
Mm-hmm.
communication is often an underestimated field because folks, when they say communication, they're like, oh, it's so broad and it has a lot of things. But you're like, No, there's a lot of things in particular. Like you learn about research, you learn about broadcasting, you learn about how to
Mm-hmm.
communicate effectively. And I feel like and you already know this, I graduated with my master's in communication as well from Eastern,
Mm-hmm.
is that the staff there, the faculty, they're very professional and they just are absolutely amazing. But what inspired you in your master's program to start Cafecito Time with Catalina?
So I used to be very close-minded. Oh, I look back at her and I'm like, pobrecita. um, I recently got into podcasts like a couple years, I think, like last year,
Mhm.
like the end of 2022. And last year I was listening to some and I was just like, you know what? Like, I think it would be good for me to start my own podcast. Like, I have a lot of my thing is I love communications because of how many options it gives you. Like you could go into this, you could go into that, you could go into so many things. So I love that about the communications um program.
It's a diverse
So
field.
the podcast, yes, very diverse field. And when I saw the podcast, I was talking to Dr. Dawson. I was like, I think it would be good. I'm recently got into them. I think, and then I started talking to my professor, Professor Barry, and I was just like, I think this is my idea of it. So then he's like, I think it's a really good podcast. And by the views and everything, like I am so thankful. Like I have gotten a lot of support, which I was overwhelmed with all the emotions. I was like, people. And you can tell in the first episode I recorded, I was so nervous. I was just kind of like a little shy. But then you see me like kind of like get that spunk
Yes,
back, and it
absolutely.
just and I like asking those awkward questions, like I mentioned before. The why this? Like, why are you doing this? One
Mhm,
thing I have to tell you, something I took a class and it was like media analysis, or I
mhm.
don't remember what it was, but it was like we were looking at ads and like how the TV manipulates the watchers and everything. Now I cannot watch a movie and not think of how they're trying to manipulate me.
Oh my
So I'm
gosh, like
doing this. Yes, I'm like, so sometimes I have to like turn that side of my brain and I'm like, just focus on what's happening. Don't ask yourself, oh, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's
wow.
one thing. But
I totally get it. Totally. I think communications, that's what it does. It rewires your brain to think about how
yes,
media is presented. And
yes.
you go from there. So I've listened to your episodes. I think I've been all caught
Oh,
up.
thank you.
The show is great. I do hope you keep it going. You just
Thank
wrapped
you.
your first season. Um, One, let's get your impressions on the first season. What did you like most about it? What are things you're hoping to improve? And can we get some names that you're hoping to have on your podcast in the future?
So I had my supervisor, I had my brother, I had his friend, and I wanted to I have a list on my book because I keep a book of all my notes and everything. I wanted to bring the only dean at Eastern, the only female dean at the university. So I wanted to see how her journey was and just kind of talk about like empowering and like what has led her, Dr. Ayala. So I wanted to include her there. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to Juan, I just thought of something.
What's up?
This is so off topic, but my mentors was Magnolia. She was a big mentor too because when I
Oh
studied
yeah, yeah,
abroad
yeah.
in Spain, I went with her too. So she's one of my big
She's
mentors too.
amazing.
Um, but sorry, and back
No, no,
to
no.
the
To a related topic, she was my
yes.
thesis. She was a part of my thesis committee when I graduated.
Oh, nice. I'm doing the capstone.
Oh, you're doing the capstone. All right.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Um, but yeah, I wanted to include her. And then there's also this she has 4 children. And it's this she's a friend of mine in Clovis, and they have a very successful businesses in Clovis, and they came from Mexico. So it's kind of like that transition from Mexico to here.
Mhm.
And your kids growing up here and just being yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're really trying to get the podcast where you have a diverse cast of guests who can talk about their experiences. So that's amazing. Um,
Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead.
sorry for the podcast. I don't know, like that's what I love about the communication field because I have so many options. Like I can go into event planning, which I am great at. I can go into do more of like my personal podcast and stuff like that. Like kind of do it like a fuller time. I don't know. We'll see what God has in plan for me, Juan. And now I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Sometimes I think of myself as very organic. I just kind of go with the flow, but like in a agenda type of way.
There you go. I like that. So we definitely need to. You mentioned her name earlier. I think we need to give a special shout out to the amazing and talented Dr. Patty Dobson. Any other
Yes.
recognitions you would like to give in the field of communication?
Well, all of my professors, Dr. Dobson, my professor Barry, he has seen me as an undergrad and now as a grad student. So, thank you for being there and believing in me. And just the professors there, have always been very realistic that life throws you some curveballs and it makes you so it takes off a lot of weight off your shoulders because you always have those professors that just think life is just
Yeah,
school,
right.
and you don't have anything else. So they have always been very realistic that we all go through things in life.
So, Catalina, what is something you would like to say to TRIO participants across the nation that are either pre-college, in college, or thinking about going back to college?
I say just don't give up on yourself. Be a big cheerleader for yourself. And if you don't succeed the first time, it is okay. Remember, when you learn to walk, you didn't learn to walk immediately. You fell and got up and fell and got up. So that's how life is. You fall and then you just get up. You fall and just get up. That's all you have to do. And just the importance of mentors is key because you do need to have those people around you that will guide you to better in your life, in your academic life, in your personal life, in your work life, and all of that. So
Wonderful. What is something you would like to say to TRIO professionals?
thank you for everything that you do. Your work does not go unnoticed. We are successful, like we are successful because of you and that knowing that someone believes in you sometimes is that push you need as a human being. So thank you.
What is something you are currently reading, watching, or listening to?
Okay, so there are different things. I am reading I it's called ay, ¿cómo se llama? Hábitos Atómicos.
Oh,
Atomic Habits. Uh-huh.
uh-huh.
I am currently reading that book. I am all about like self help books, like mindset change, like all sorts of things like that. Just kind of I love seeing things from a different perspective. Like
Mhm,
absolutely
mhm.
love it. I am watching, well, my students actually told me to watch something with a bear, like Build a Bear or Brother Bear.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So they told me to watch that. So that's my plan for this weekend, to watch Brother Bear.
Okay.
Um and then listening to, as in podcast wise, I
Podcast music
am
or anything? Yeah.
okay. Podcast, I am not listening to any right now because I got into audiobooks. And then but music wise, it just kind of depends on the day. Today I did not, well, it was just random. Some days I wake up with country music, sometimes I wake up with ranchera music, sometimes belicona, another reggaeton,
Mhm.
just chill music, R&B. So it depends.
I'm going to give you the most challenging question that I had so far in this podcast. Describe yourself using only one word.
Oh, goodness. One word. Um, one word. Trier. As in
I,
trying. Yeah,
I love
trier. Because I want to try new foods. I want to try new things. I want to try to better myself. Yeah, I think trier.
What? Totally off script, and it's going to be on the podcast anyway. What is the
Okay.
food that you recently tried that you really like loved, or a food that you really loved so far that you've tried? Sorry, I'm putting on you on the spot.
It's okay. What did I try? Oh, in Mexico, I tried like this. It was like a un filete, but wrapped with bacon.
Ooh,
And there was something new. I had never tried it, and it was really, really good.
that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was really good. Actually, I can tell you another thing.
Yeah,
I used to hate olives. Like, I thought they were no. But now I love olives. Sometimes I crave them. I'm like,
Wow.
oh my gosh. So yeah, that changes you, people.
That's amazing. Catalina, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It has been a true pleasure to have you here to talk about your college experience, your journey, and to learn about your hopes. I hope to have you on again if you're up to it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So we have a tradition on the Let's Talk Trio podcast where we have the guests sign off. Catalina, would you care to do the honors?
Thank you so much, Juan. First off, before I say thank you so much for having me, it has been an amazing opportunity for being here, especially since you seen me as a little kid, as a high school student. So thank you for believing in me and
Absolutely.
for all of the for the amazing work that you do. And okay, I will say my closing phrase. Hello, this is Catalina Arana Mendoza. I am an alum of the Trio Upper Brown program at Eastern New Mexico University. I graduated from Eastern New Mexico University with my bachelor's, and I will be graduating in May with my bachelor's in communications. And I am also the host of Cafecito Time con Carta, and Trio Works. Yay!
That was our guest, Catalina Arana Mendoza, who is an alum of the Trio Upward Bound program at Eastern New Mexico University. Catalina, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your Trio story. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, Felicia Rivera, TrioJoblist.com, Jaded Electronics, Nosotros Education Center, Cambridge Educational Services, CE Tours, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Get in touch with us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast. They are Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. This episode was recorded Saturday, January 20th, 2024. We are in an election year. I strongly urge our listeners to exercise their right to vote. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.